What's good, everyone? This is Monaro and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to cover chapters 33 to 43. Hope you enjoy. It is full dark before Catelyn, Sir Wendell Manderly, and Sir Robar Royce arrive at the village. The Sept's 7 walls, each for one god, are cracked and crooked. She enters alone. Catelyn remembers Septon Osmond telling her every god is one with 7 aspects. In Winterfell, Septon Chael hung carved masks, but here they are but rough chalk drawings. Catelyn prays to the mother to spare them if she can, and spare her own sons. She wonders if Eddard Stark's god even answered him, and looks around. The father's face reminds her of her dying father, Hoster Tully, the warrior of Renly Baratheon, Stannis Baratheon, Robert Baratheon, Robb, Jaime Lannister, Jon Snow, and for a second she sees Arya. The smoke burns her eyes, and after rubbing them, she sees her mother, Minissa Tully, who died in childbirth, in the face of the mother. When her head starts swimming, she realizes she has not eaten today. Food lost its savor when Ned died. Then she thinks she can see Lysa's face, but the eyes are too hard. It is the face of Cersei. She first wonders if Cersei prays to the 7 also, and then thinks if Robert, who did not regard Joffrey with any warmth, knew that the boy was of Jaime's seed, would have put both him and his mother to death, and few would condemn him. The children born of incest are considered abomination by the followers of both the old gods and the 7. Only among the Targaryens was such practices common. She realizes Eddard and Jon Arryn must have both known, hence why Cersei had them both killed, and she suddenly realizes Bran knows also. She prays to the different gods for her children. Sir Robar interrupts her prayers to tell her they must leave to be back before dawn. They pass through the army, and to Catelyn it seems like gray men on gray horses beneath gray banners. At Renly's pavilion, Sir Parman Crane and Sir Aemon Kai of the Rainbow Guard stand guard outside, while inside Brienne of Tarth is armoring the king, and Lords Randall Tarley and Mathis Rowan are speaking of dispositions and tactics. Catelyn asks to speak to Renly, but he tells her to wait. Lord Mathis is telling Renly that they should advance before dawn since the soldiers are in position, and Lord Rowan is agreeing since if they wait they will charge into the rising sun. But Renly will not have it said his victory was won by treachery. Renly is sure that Sir Loras will break the first of Stannis' lines. Renly commands that when his brother falls, his body be treated with respect. When Lord Tarley asks what to do if Stannis yields, both Renly and Lord Rowan are amused, and Renly recounts how Sir Gawain Wild tried to escape to surrender to Mace Tyrell during the siege of Storm's End, and Stannis was going to hurl him out using a catapult. He was only dissuaded by Maester Crescent telling him they might have to eat their dead. Mercifully, the Onion Knight saved them from having to eat the flesh of corpses, though Renly knows that this was little comfort to Sir Gawain, who died in his cell. Renly, assuming Sir Barristan Selmy will be with Stannis, since Sir Barristan is neither with him nor with Robb and wants to guard a king, states he want him spared. Finally, Renly is ready to hear from Catelyn the Lord's departing. Catelyn now tells Renly that the Lannisters tried to kill Bran, explaining that there was a hunt the day he fell, and while Robert, Ned, and most of the other men were gone, both Jaime Lannister and the Queen remained at Winterfell. She then beseeches Renly to set aside the crown along with his brother, and Robb would do the same. Then they could call a great council where Bran will tell his tale so the realm will know the Lannisters are true usurpers. Renly tells her the time for talk is done. As Brienne is kneeling, belting on Renly's long sword and dagger, a breeze seems to fling open the tent flap. Then Catelyn sees a shadow lifting a sword that takes Renly in the throat. Brienne catches Renly as he stumbles into her, his blood flowing over her armor. Sir Robar and Sir Aemon come rushing in, and seeing Brienne covered in Renly's blood, immediately assume she killed him. Sir Aemon immediately attacks with a battle axe as Catelyn screams, "No!" Brienne is soon in battle with Sir Aemon and the 2 men-at-arms with them. Catelyn starts to tell Sir Robar, who hangs back uncertainly, that it was Stannis, only being able to explain it was some sort of sorcery, a shadow, swearing on her husband's grave and her honor. Sir Robar promises to hold them off and leaves the tent. Brienne has taken out the men-at-arms, but now the armored Sir Aemon is in her wool. Catelyn bashes an iron brazier over Sir Aemon's helm, sending him to his knees, and Brienne, seeing the chance, slashes through the tent side. Catelyn tells her to follow her slowly so they do not raise suspicions. Brienne has seen nothing, and Catelyn tells her it was a shadow, and she could feel Stannis. Brienne swears she will kill Stannis with Renly's sword. They arrive at the camp, and Catelyn explains that Renly is dead and there will be no battle. She tells Brienne to select one of the many spare horses. They have to be far away before they look for them, so she does not have time to get her own armor and horse. Catelyn tells them to ride and cut down anyone that tries to stop them. Catelyn thinks how all of Renly's power will now belong to Stannis, won in a single evil stroke. The Lords present will have no choice but to side with the last Baratheon. Then she thinks how Stannis had also declared Robb a traitor who must be punished, and a chill goes through her as she recalls Stannis' threat that Robb's time will come. Lord Commander Mormont's men arrive at the Fist of the First Men. Jon Snow thinks that it actually looks like a fist plunging up from the ground. The commander tells Thorin Smallwood it is good ground, and he replies it is an old place that is strong and will be easy to defend. The commander agrees they are not likely to find a better place to defend. Its disadvantage, pointed out by Jon, is that they will have to climb down to get water. Their camp is made behind a stone ring built by the first men during the Dawn Age. As they climbed, Ghost ran off, and Jon had to keep calling him back, but the commander finally grew impatient and told Jon to let him go. Jon Snow can tell the traveling is wearing on the Lord Commander, but he tries not to let it show. After putting up the Lord Commander's tent and seeing to the horses, he descends to find Ghost, who suddenly appears next to him. He feels a growing sense of foreboding. He climbs some rocks from where he can see the Milkwater River and the rugged landscape giving way to high stony hills to the north. When darkness starts to arrive, Jon is interrupted by Samwell Tarly. Jon tells Sam that the commander plans to stay here and wait for Qhorin Halfhand and the men of the Shadow Tower, and he should get a raven ready since the commander will want to send a message. Sam states the ravens hate being caged, and if he could fly, he would be back at Castle Black and be eating pork pie. They return to camp. Overhead, the red tail of Mormont's torch is as bright as the moon. When they arrive, Jon leaves to attend to the Lord Commander. Mormont, who is talking with some of his officers, tells Jon to bring some hot spice wine. As he prepares the wine, he hears Jarman Buckwell state that following the Milkwater would be the easiest road to the Frostfangs, but Mance Rayder will know of their approach. Sir Malodor Locke recommends Giant Stair or Skirling Pass. Mormont states he does not want to risk the Frostfangs unless he must. He plans to remain at the Fist since the Wildling outnumber them, and the Wildling will have to come to the Frostfangs eventually for food. They will strengthen their defenses. Their rangers will limit their rangings to this side of the river, since Mormont is sure that Craster did not lie to them about Mance gathering his force in the Frostfangs. The officers finish their wine and leave. Jon offers the commander supper and asks if Ghost found any game since they could use meat, and then asks if Jon agrees with keeping the rangers close. Jon replies that if they stay close, they are unlikely to find his uncle Benjen Stark. The commander responds it would be easier for one man to find 200 than for 200 to find one, and the land is too vast to search with their limited manpower. They have left a very visible trail, and the fires on the Fist should be visible to the foothills of the Frostfangs. Jon then brings up the case that his uncle is dead, and the commander replies that he still may return anyway as a white. The commander then tells Jon he will forsake supper and to wake him at first light. However, Jon is hungry and joins Dywyn, Gren, Dolorous Ed, and Hake for the stew. Dywyn states there is a smell he does not like, a smell of cold. Jon hears a howling, and then Ghost appears, surprising Jon since he has previously refused to come inside the ring. Ghost seemed preoccupied, sniffing the air. Suddenly, Jon is alarmed since Ghost knew when the dead came walking, and Dywyn has said he smelled cold. Ghost starts to go, then looks back so Jon follows, leaving the protection of the ring. Ghost stops at the steam and then goes on so Jon follows, angry. He loses Ghost a quarter of the way around the Fist. When he catches up with Ghost again, he is digging at a mound that has been dug only recently. He expects to find a body, but finds a bundle 2 feet across. Inside the bundle made from a cloak of the Night's Watch, he finds dragon glass weapons. Bran is found working the bellows for Mikken by Alebelly to tell him that there had been a bird from Robb Stark. Bran lets Alebelly carry him to Maester Luwin's turret where Rickon already waits. The Maester informs them that Robb shattered a Lannister army at the Battle of Oxcross, killing its commander Sir Stafford Lannister. He has also captured several castles and is currently at Ashmark, the stronghold of Hars Marbrand. Rickon asks if Robb is coming home, but Bran knows that only Lord Tywin Lannister matters, as Big Walder states, which disquiets him. Neither Big Walder nor Little Walder seem upset about their uncle Sir Stavron Frey's death, who they note was very old, 50 or 60, and always tired. Little Walder asks if Sir Aemon Frey is now heir, and his cousin tells him the line of ascension: Sir Ryman, Edwin, Black Walder, Peter, then Aegon Frey and his sons. Little Walder states that Ryman is too old, and then asks if they think he will be Lord, and Big Walder responds he will be Lord and does not care. The Maester tells them that they should be ashamed. Osha arrives to carry him. She is stronger than Alebelly. Bran asks if she knows the way north, and she tells him it is easy. He then asks if the children of the forest, the others, and giants are still there, and she tells him she has seen giants and heard of the others. He then asks about the three-eyed crow, which she has never heard of. She sets him on the window seat of his bedchamber. Shortly thereafter, Jojen enters the room unbidden with Mira behind him. Bran asks Jojen if he has heard about the bird. He states it was not supper. It was a letter from Robb. Jojen explains that the green dreams are not easy to understand. When Bran asks Jojen to tell him his dreams, Jojen reveals that he dreamed the sea was lapping all around Winterfell. Waves crashed against the gates and towers, and the water came flowing over the walls and filled the castle. Drowned men were floating in the yard. He now recognizes these men and declares that they are Alebelly, Septon Chayle, and Mikken. Bran, confused and dismayed, replies that the sea is hundreds of leagues away, and Winterfell's walls are so high the water could not get in even if it did come. Jojen only repeats his claim, adding that he saw the dead, bloated and drowned. Bran wants to warn the men, but Jojen tells him it will not save them, as they will not believe him. He then asks Bran to tell of his wolf dreams, and Bran replies that they are different kinds. There are the wolf dreams, which are not as bad as the others in which he runs, hunts, and kills squirrels. He has other dreams where the crow comes and tells him to fly. Sometimes the tree is also calling his name in those dreams, which frighten him, but not as much as when he falls. He explains that he never used to fall while climbing, and that he used to feed the crows in the burnt tower, yet he did fall eventually, and now when he sleeps, he falls all the time. Jojen tells Bran that he will be called a warg if others hear of his wolf dreams, and some will hate him in fear, as the power is strong in him. Bran is concerned since in old Nan stories, wargs were always evil, and tells Jojen that he wants to be a knight. Jojen replies that he is a winged wolf but will never fly unless he opens the eye in his forehead, and he must search for it with his heart. When Bran states that Maester Luwin claims dreams are just that, Jojen responds there are the past, the future, and truth. With that, they leave him, and Bran tries unsuccessfully to open his third eye. On the following days, Bran tries to warn his household, but no one seems to believe him. Mikken thinks it funny and states he always wanted to see the sea. Septon Chayle states the gods will take him when they do, and he does not think he will drown since he grew up on the banks of the White Knife. Alebelly takes heed and refuses to bathe or go near a well until finally other guardsmen give him a bath because he stinks so badly. Sir Rodrik Cassel returns with a man that Hayhead tells Bran is named Reek. He served the now-dead Ramsay Snow, the bastard of Bolton. The bastard and Reek murdered Lady Hornwood. Rodrik's men shot Snow as he attempted to ride away. He had forced Lady Hornwood to marry him and then to sign a will naming him heir. Sir Rodrik is concerned that Roose Bolton may not agree, that doing this under duress will make the marriage and the will invalid. Rodrik wants to keep Reek alive for judgment when Robb returns. Meanwhile, House Manderly and House Bolton are fighting in the Hornwood Forest, and Roderick does not have the strength to stop them. Sir Roderick then brings up Bran commanding Ailbelly not to bathe. Bran tells him about the Green Dream. Maester Luwin tells Roderick that he has explained to Bran the uncertainty of prophecies, but then notes that raiders in longships have been plundering and raping along the stony shore, and Leopold Tallhart sent his nephew Benford Tallhart to deal with it. After he gets more information about the Green Dream, Roderick promises not to take Ailbelly with him if he rides against the raiders. Bran takes some hope in this. When Bran meets with the Reeds later that night, Mira agrees that it should be possible to change prophecies. Mira gets angry with her brother when he disagrees, claiming that what he sees always comes true. Then Mira states that Ailbelly and Bran should both fight to avoid their fates. Bran asks if he drowns also, and Jojen reveals another dream of his, in which Bran and Rickon lay dead at Reek's feet, and he is skinning off their faces with a long red blade. Mira states that she could go down to the dungeons and kill Reek now, but Jojen tells her she will not succeed. First the jailers would stop her, and they will never believe. Even if Bran went to Greywater Watch, he could not avoid his fate. The Green Dreams do not lie. Varys reports the mysterious murder of Renly, whose throat was cut like soft cheese. The report of the murderer vary. Stannis with a magic sword, a knight of his rainbow guard, a maid, a woman spurned, or Lady Catelyn Stark. The small council, including Cersei, Tyrion, and Littlefinger, are not pleased with the report since they expect the truth, not rumors. Varys assures them it is not a ruse and that Renly is dead. Tyrion notes that Joffrey will not be happy since he was reserving a spike for Renly's head. Tyrion himself is also unhappy since he was depending on the brothers to decimate each other's armies in battle, but points out the killer's identity is irrelevant. Stannis has to be behind Renly's death as he stood to gain the most from it. Varys reports the foot remain at Bitterbridge, and most of the lords have gone over to Stannis Baratheon, with, as Littlefinger assumed, Lord Alliser Florent being first. Loras Tyrell, Randall Tarley, and Mathis Rowan did not switch allegiance, and Sir Courtney Penrose will not yield Storm's End until he sees Renly's body, which has disappeared. A fifth of the knights left with Loras, who had killed 3 of Renly's guards in anger, including Aemon Kai and Robar Royce. Loras is probably headed to Bitterbridge, for his sister Marjorie Tyrell and the Foot are still there. Tyrion notes that this is an opportunity to win the Tyrells to their cause. They may have loved Renly, but perhaps they can be convinced to prefer Joffrey over Stannis. Littlefinger suggests bribes, but both Varys and Tyrion do not think gold will win Highgarden. Littlefinger admits they are right and states that Loras, although a younger son, is Mace Tyrell's favorite, so they just have to win him. Tyrion suggests marrying 15 or 16-year-old Marjorie to the 13-year-old Joffrey. Cersei objects that Joffrey is promised to Sansa Stark, but Tyrion responds that there is no advantage in wedding the king to the daughter of a dead traitor. Littlefinger adds that the Tyrells are wealthier than the Starks, and Marjorie is lovely and bettable. When Tyrion states that Joffrey should like this, Cersei replies her son is too young to care about such things. Tyrion notes that he was the same age as Joffrey when he married. Cersei insists that Joffrey is made of finer stuff, but Tyrion reminds her that he ordered Sansa stripped by Sir Boros Blount. Tyrion has spoken to Varys about arranging a secret visit to Shatiras for Joffrey. Tyrion hopes that it will sweeten him. He noted that they will have to arrange to do it when Sandor Clegane is busy. Varys agreed to look into the matter. Tyrion tells Cersei that the marriage may be the only way for Joffrey to live to his wedding night, and Littlefinger adds that Sansa brings only her body to Joffrey's bed, while Marjorie brings 50,000 swords. Varys adds that the need of the realm come before the king's own desire. Cersei states that the king would never agree to Renly's leavings, and Tyrion replies that when the king comes of age in 3 years, he can make his own decisions, but until then, he does as the hand of the king and the regent say. Cersei agrees but warns them if Joffrey does not like Marjorie. Tyrion brings up the need to send one of them to Bitterbridge before Loras's blood cools. Loras will scarcely deal with Bronn or Shagga. Cersei first recommends Sir Jacelyn Bywater, but Tyrion points out that whoever they send must be able to make decisions for the king and council. Cersei recommends Tyrion as Hand of the King, and Tyrion recommends Cersei as the king's mother. Littlefinger volunteers, stating he would make a poor hostage, and neither Loras nor Mace bears any enmity towards him. Tyrion does not like it since he does not trust Littlefinger, but if he leaves King's Landing for any time, everything he worked for would be undone. There is fighting on the route to Bitterbridge, so Littlefinger will need a strong escort. Tyrion initially offers 100 gold cloaks, and they agree on 300 plus 40 knights with squires to give Littlefinger a knightly tale to impress the Tyrells. Littlefinger states he will take Horus Redwine and Hobart Redwine, Horror and Slobber, who will be sent on to their father as a gesture of goodwill since Paxter Redwine is an old friend of Mace Tyrell's. Cersei expresses wrath at this since House Redwine would have declared for Renly except for the twins being held hostage. Littlefinger notes that Renly is dead and Stannis and Lord Paxter have an enmity against each other from the siege of Storm's End. Tyrion decides to send Sir Hobart and keep Sir Horus in King's Landing. Littlefinger also demands plenty of horses and gold and a commission in writing, which Tyrion agrees to. So Littlefinger states he will start before dawn, but is expecting a suitable reward for his services. Cersei asks him what he wants, and Littlefinger replies he will think about it. Tyrion instructs Varys to get parchment and quill, and they will need someone to wake Joffrey. Cersei asks Tyrion about his chain, and he tells her it is getting longer link by link, and that they should thank Sir Courtney since Stannis will not march north with Storm's End untaken. Cersei now tells Tyrion that he has been a great help, contrary to what she expected, and kisses him on the brow. When Cersei leaves, Tyrion tells Bronn that Cersei is up to something, and asks Bronn to try to find out what. Tyrion hates surprises. Theon has captured Benford Tallheart after defeating the force sent to protect the Stony Shore. Now Benford is being held between Stig and Werlag as Theon questions him but only gets threats about what Robb Stark will do to him and Benford's spittle. Euron Greyjoy now insists that Benford be sacrificed to the drowned god in the old way for his insult. Theon finally gives in, figuring he may be doing Benford a service since his neck is thick with muscle and fat, and Stig is not an expert headsman. He thinks of when he met Benford 3 years past when Eddard Stark visited Sir Halman Tallheart. He can hear the noise of the men celebrating the victory, but it was like slaughtering sheep. After climbing some stones, Theon can see Timor with his brothers gathering the unhurt mounts, and Erzin and Black Lauren kill the horses that cannot be saved. He also sees Gavin Harlaw sawing off a man's finger to get a ring. Theon does not want to search the 2 men he killed because he can only think of what the now dead Eddard Stark would say, and it frustrates him. He then sees Marin Botley with his sons collecting plunder, and one of them in a shoving match with an obviously drunk Todrick. Theon asks Wexpike for his bow and attempts to shoot the ale horn out of Todrick's hand, but he moves and Theon's arrow takes him in the belly. This gets the attention of the other looters, and Theon tells them that he will not abide no drunkards and no squabbles over plunder. Theon orders Botley to silence Todrick. He realizes that his father, Lord Balon Greyjoy, gave him the command, but some of his men see him as a soft boy from the Greenlands. Theon kicks Benford's banner, wondering about the rabbit skin tied to it. He is frustrated that he does not feel elated as he did after the Battle of the Whispering Wood. Benford had not even sent out a scout and ran into a trap to be cut down by a hail of arrows. Theon ordered the leader spared for questioning, not expecting it to be Benford. Theon planned the attack on the village well, and his men easily took the sleeping fishing village, which is now just ash. A few were allowed to escape to take word to Torrent Square, the rest killed except for some women taken for salt wives and thralls. He is not happy, but feels he has no choice. The word about the hosting of the Iron Island has been effectively kept secret so the Northmen will not realize their peril until Deepwood Motte and Moat Cailin are attacked. His damned sister Asha Greyjoy in her ship Black win again. She will win a castle of her own and gain glory while Theon's work will be put down to the raiders. Theon left Dagmar Cleftjaw to guard the ship so that he could be given credit, and Dagmar did not mind. When Theon returns, Dagmar is standing in front of his ship, Foam Drinker. He notes that Theon does not smile despite the victory. Theon reports he only lost Todrick, whom he killed, and Dagmar smiles, telling him some men are born to be killed. As always, Theon appreciates the smile. Theon tells Dagmar that they need to talk, so he takes him to his cabin in Foam Drinker. Theon tells him they did not capture enough horses, and Dagmar asks why they need horses since Balon ordered them only to harry the coast. Theon, hoping to tone in Dagmar's voice in interest, not disapproval, tells Dagmar that he is the most skilled in sword and spear on the islands. Dagmar informs him that Andric, who serves Lord Dustin Drum, and Black Lauren and Call the Maid are said to be the best now. Theon responds that Andric is not nearly as feared, and raiding is no work for Lord Balon's best man. Dagmar tells Theon that it is he who feels wasted, and Theon replies that it should have been him who had his sister's command. He was valued by Robb Stark and was one of Brynden Tully's picked scouts. He was in the first wave at the Whispering Wood and came close to crossing swords with the Kingslayer, except Darren Hornwood came between and died for it. Dagmar states that he knows Theon is no craven, having trained him. Theon asks if his father knows that, and states that he is no Stark but a Greyjoy, and will be his father's heir, but to be his heir he must prove himself. When Dagmar reminds him he was commanded to raid, Theon responds that he will give Aeron 6 ships and he can do the raiding. Theon will capture his own castle. Meanwhile, Dagmar, with his fearsome reputation, will march on Torrhen Square. Helman Tallhart took his best men south, and Benford and their sons are now dead. A small garrison under Leopold Tallhart is all that is left. He will not make a secret of his approach, and when he arrives, he will start building siege engines. Dagmar explains that this is not the Iron Man's way, and Theon replies that Leopold will not know that and will call for help. When the Castellan in Winterfell learns that a bannerman is being attacked by Dagmar Cleftjar, he will ride to Leopold's aid in strength. Dagmar states he cannot win since the force summoned will be larger than his, and Theon replies that he does not plan to take Torrhen Square. The castle is in an uproar with preparations for Tywin Lannister's host's departure. Sir Adam Marbrand was the first to depart a day before the rest. Weese calls Sir Adam Marbrand a great horseman and a sword fighter, and Lord Tywin's most daring commander. Arya hopes Sir Adam and all his men die. She is sure that they are going to fight Robb Stark and wonders what Robb has accomplished. Arya has been kept busy running messages from dawn to dusk. She has even delivered messages beyond the wall and considered running away, except that Weese told her he would deliver her to Vargo Hoat. Maybe if Weese were dead. Weese does not know Arya can read, so he never seals his messages. That day, she delivers a message demanding payment for a debt to a knight who cannot read. She reads it to him, and he tries to hit her, so she takes a silver-banded drinking horn from him and flees, giving it to Weese. For this, Arya is promised the reward of sharing a crisp capron with Weese that night. As she runs errands, she searches for Jaqen H'ghar to give him another name before he leaves. She finally asks a gate guard and is told that Sir Omri Lorch is to be Castellan of Harrenhal, so Jaqen will not be leaving. The brave companions will also be left to do foraging. Unfortunately, the Mountain will be leaving to command Tywin's van in battle, putting him, Dunsen, Polliver, and Rafford beyond reach. Weese gives Arya a message for Lucan that Sir Lionel, who is to ride with Kevin Lannister, needs a new sword. When she reaches the armory, she spies Gendry and asks him which one of the men is Lucan. He tells her that Hot Pie asked him if he heard her scream Winterfell when they were fighting on the wall. Arya immediately claims she didn't, and Gendry tells her she did, but that he told Hot Pie he needs to clean out his ears because she yelled, "Go to hell!" and she better have the same story. She does not want Hot Pie to know who she really is, and thinks maybe she should give Jaqen his name. Gendry gets Lucan, who pulls down a longsword and gives it to Arya with the message that it is too good for such an oath. Arya claims she will pass on the message, but will not because Weese would beat her bloody. The longsword feels good in Arya's hand, although a lot heavier than Needle, and she thinks that she may not be a water dancer, but she is not a mouse either. She considers using the note to get a horse, pretending she is doing it for Sir Lionel, since the stable boys are not able to read. She is trying to decide whether to take the chance when she overhears some archers talk. One says that Robb brought giants from the north. another that Starks are more like wolves than men, and then one states that Robb is scared to attack Harrenhal and would piss in his pants if he knew they were coming. One man comments that maybe they are the ones that should run. She thinks that yes, they should run or her brother will kill them. She is interrupted by Wheeze, who has come up in front of her and she did not see him. He complains that she took too long and snatches the sword from her, slapping her with the back of his hand and telling her next time that she will be faster. She was a wolf and suddenly is not. He asks her if she wants another slap and tells her he wants none of her insolent looks and to tell Tuffleberry he has barrels for him but he needs to send lads to fetch them. He then warns her to run if she wants to eat tonight and not to get lost again or she will be beat bloody. Halfway to the brew house, she runs into Rorge and 3 other of Sir Armory's men. He calls her Yoren's little cunt and recalls that he promised to fuck her with her stick, saying she is no longer so brave now that he is not wearing chains. When she tells him she is looking for Jaqen, she can see something in his eyes, probably fear. He tells her he is in the bathhouse and to get out of his way. In the bathhouse, she tries to sneak up on Jaqen, but he knows she is there, telling her the scuff of leather on stone is as loud as war horns to a man with open ears, and clever girls should go barefoot. She is upset that he heard her, and whispers Wheeze's name in his ear. He states that a man will attend him at his leisure. She gives Tuffleberry the message and he curses, saying that his lads are busy and that he will have those barrels within an hour, or Lord Tywin will hear of it. Wheeze is not happy about this message, but finds 6 men. Supper is a thin stew, and Wheeze shares his capron with a woman who has been sleeping with him. When he sees Arya staring, he reminds her he told her what would happen if he caught her staring. She slaps her, then shoves her, and her dress catches on a loose nail and rips. Wheeze commands her to fix that before she sleeps. She is kicked awake in the morning by Wheeze, who tells them that the work will not get easier now that Tywin's host is gone. Later, Arya watches as Lord Tywin and Sir Kevan pass, followed by their great lords and captains. Last comes Gregor Clegane and Polliver beside him wearing Gendry's helmet. Suddenly, Arya realizes she was stupid and that neither Chiswick or nor Wheeze mattered. Why didn't she say Lord Tywin? She hurries to find Jaqen to tell him. She hears a shriek of pain and finds a dozen people looking at the body of Wheeze with his ugly dog on his chest. Every so often the dog rips a mouthful of flesh off his face. One man exclaims that he had that bitch since she was a pup, and it must be Harren's ghost. When Arya lifts her gaze, she sees Jaqen on the battlements, who casually lays 2 fingers across his cheeks. Catelyn and her escort are nearing Riverrun and are met by Martin Rivers and his outriders. She learns that Robb has crushed Sir Stafford Lannister's levies and that the Great John has seized 3 of Lannister's gold mines. Robb reached Oscross by following a trail Grey Wind had discovered around the Golden Tooth. However, Martin tells her that Lord Tywin is marching on Riverrun as they speak. Catelyn makes all haste back to her father's castle, but first takes Brienne as her sworn sword to prevent the girl from doing anything foolish. Catelyn is fearful of her brother's chances in battle against Lord Tywin, and outside Riverrun discovers Lannisters hanging from the walls. Edmure informs her that 4 men from Sir Cleos's party attempted to free Sir Jaime and nearly succeeded. They were hung for their deeds, and the Kingslayer was placed in the deep dungeons and chained to the wall. Her father's steward asks Catelyn if there is no hope of aid from the south, hoping that Stannis will be forced to make common cause with them, but Catelyn gives no answer, since Stannis has made common cause with a power greater and darker. Edmure also explains that birds have arrived from Storm's End with messages from Sir Courtney Penrose seeking help. Penrose claimed he feared for the boy, and when Edmure asks whom the Castellan meant, Brienne tells him it is Edric Storm, Robert's only high-born bastard. Catelyn makes known her dissent in Edmure giving Lord Tywin battle. Her brother has commanded Roose Bolton to take Harrenhal, and has also called the levies from the twins, those under the command of Sir Helman Tallheart. Catelyn argues that Robert left those men to make certain Lord Walder kept faith. She learns that Roose Bolton wed one of Lord Walder's daughters. She then visits her father, but Lord Hoster makes her for Lysa and mumbles several strange disjointed lines. John's a good man, strong, kind. You'll wed when Catelyn does. That stripling, Catelyn reflects that her father said that part with vehemence. Wretched boy, not speak that name to me. Your duty. Catelyn is then led by Eutharide's Wayne to the Silent Sisters who possess Lord Eddard's bones. When she states that she must thank Cersei for even this much, her father's steward tells her to thank the imp, since it was his doing. Catelyn thinks to herself, one day I will thank them all. Catelyn commands the Silent Sisters to lay Ned's bones to rest in the crypts beneath Winterfell, and then asks to be left alone with her husband's body, musing that she envies the Silent Sisters for their supposed ability to speak to the dead. Daenerys relates to Xaro's own Daxos how the pureborn have denied her, despite all the customary bribes and traditional proceedings she followed. Daenerys' hope of obtaining ships and men from the pureborn was in vain, and now she has to move on. The pureborn are only interested in her dragons, not in her cause. She again beseeches Xaro for ships, but the merchant prince tells her he has no warships. He asks her again to marry him, and she again refuses. She considers going to the warlocks for aid, and again Xaro warns her not to. As they move through the marketplace, Daenerys witnesses a fire mage make a ladder of fire and climb it into the sky. As cut purses move through the astonished crowd, Xaro declares the feat a fine trick, but Quaithe appears and tells them it was no trick. The Shadowbinder tells Daenerys that half a year ago, the man could scarcely make even a small fire appear, but his power has grown now, and all because of Daenerys, the mother of dragons. Quaithe warns, "You must leave this city soon, or you will never be permitted to leave at all." Daenerys realizes that Quaithe wants her to go to Asshai, and when she asks why, the Shadowbinder tells her it is there she will find truth. Her cause warn her not to trust the Asshai Shadowbinder, and Xaro concurs. Later, Ser Jorah tells her she will find no help in this city. He explains why Xaro wants to marry her. During a Qarthian wedding ceremony, the bride and groom each ask one thing from each other that the other cannot refuse. Ser Jorah is convinced that Xaro plans to obtain one of her dragons in this way. He tells her she should go east, but not to Asshai. When Daenerys suggests returning west to Illyrio, Jorah warns her that the Magister cares only for himself and would provide no help. Daenerys believes he will give her the ships and soldiers to retake Westeros, but Jorah states, "Nothing knits a broken realm together so quick as an invading army on its soil." He reminds her that a man was sent to kill her when Robert Baratheon heard that she was pregnant, and fears what might happen when word spreads of her dragons. Daenerys wonders why the comet led her to Qarth, if not to obtain ships and an army, and Ser Jorah implores her to go to Pyat Pree for help. Tyrion, the royal family, and their retainers are at the docks to see Princess Myrcella off to Dorne. Tyrion is sending Aerys Oakheart with her as her sworn shield. Prince Doran Martell has promised to move his banners into the high passes once Myrcella is safely at Sunspear. Tyrion knows one of Cersei's secret, how she is consorting with the unsavory hedge knight Osmond Kettleblack and his brothers in order to raise her own force of sellswords. What the queen doesn't know is that Bronn is matching every copy she gives the Kettleblacks, thus Sir Osmond is really one of Tyrion's men. On the ride back to Maegor's Holdfast, things get out of hand when someone in the crowds hit Joffrey in the face with dung, and the king sends the hound to deal with the perpetrator. The crowd, frenzied due to the lack of food and the harsh living conditions, boils over and begins to trample the procession. Sensing what is about to happen, Tyrion screams for them to ride hard for the gates of the Holdfast. In the mad rush, several members are lost, and by the time Tyrion reaches the safety of the gates, their lives are in doubt. As Joffrey is ranting about traitors and how they attacked him, Tyrion dismounts and slaps him so hard his crown flies off, and then shoves him to the ground shouting, "You set your dog on them! What did you imagine they would do?" Tyrion commands Sir Boros and Sir Meryn to return and find Sansa and those missing, and when the two Kingsguard balk, Cersei begins to berate them as well for their cowardice. Sansa returns, saved by Sandor Clegane, who is covered in blood. Meanwhile, a fire has broken out in the city, and Tyrion can see the fear in the hound's eyes when he commands the men to go out and put out the fire. Later, it is discovered that Preston Greenfield, Aaron Santagar, and the High Septon lost their lives. Lady Tanda's daughter Lawless is found alive, having been raped by 50 men outside a tanner's shop, and Tyrion's cousin Tyrek is missing. Tyrion wants his cousin found, mostly because the boy's father Tigget was always kind to Tyrion. He is dismayed to learn from Jacelyn Bywater that many of the city watch and the common folk consider Tyrion the problem in the city and would revolt given the chance. Later, Bronn remarks while Varys is in the room that things would be a lot easier if Tommen were king. Tyrion understands this as a hint that Bronn thinks Joffrey should be killed. Davos has recently returned to Stannis' fleet after delivering the king's message throughout the realm. He learns that Stannis has been having terrible nightmares and that only Lady Melisandre can soothe him to sleep. She has been sharing his pavilion of late, and he wonders how she soothes him to sleep. Sir Courtney Penrose arrives to parley with Stannis and scorns the king and all his newfound allies who were so recently sworn to Renly. He especially mocks Lord Alliser Florin for not only changing sides, but changing gods as well. Sir Courtney will not accept Stannis' demands and will not surrender Storm's End nor Robert's bastard Edric Storm. The Castellan throws his gauntlet into Stannis' face and proposes single combat to settle the issue. Stannis rejects him, stating he will take the castle by storm if he must, to which Sir Courtney responds, "Bring on your storm, and recall, if you do, the name of this castle." Stannis dismisses all of his men save Davos, seeking the former smuggler's advice. Davos states his respect for Sir Courtney, who kept his faith, unlike all these new lords in Stannis' army. Stannis dislikes them as much, but he needs their strength in order to win his throne. Stannis sent Sir Parman Crane to Bitterbridge to gather the rest of Renly's army, but there has been no word since. He tells Davos that he grieves for his brother Renly, and dreams of a green pavilion and a manner of Renly's death, even though he was in bed at the time of Renly's demise. Stannis says, "But I do love him, Davos. I know that now. I swear, I will go to my grave thinking of my brother's peach." Davos advises him to strike for King's Landing at once, but Stannis will not leave Storm's End untaken in his rear, for men will consider him defeated there. Stannis then tells Davos that he must have the boy Edric Storm, as Melisandre has seen it in her flames, and she has also seen Sir Courtney's death, as she saw Renly's at Dragonstone. The king commands Davos to bring Melisandre by boat under the cover of darkness beneath Storm's End, as he did some 15 years before. That night, Davos is sickened by what he must do for his king. He asks Melisandre if she is good or evil, and she responds, "Oh, good. I am a knight of sorts myself, a champion of light and life." Davos calls her a liar, for she means to kill a man this very night, as she killed Maester Cresson and Renly. The Red Woman responds that the Maester poisoned himself, and that she had nothing to do with Renly's death. However, she later admits that Renly was unprotected, while the walls of Storm's End have spells woven into the stones, and that no shadow can pass from the outside. When Davos proclaims that a shadow is a thing of darkness, Melisandre rebuffs him, stating that shadows don't exist in the dark. They are servants of light and fire, provided by her god R'hllor. When they arrive at a gate in a water tunnel beneath the castle, Melisandre disrobes, and Davos watches in horror as the now pregnant woman gives birth to a shadow, and Davos recognizes the man who cast it. Jon hears the call of a war horn, one blast to signify brothers returning. Qhorin Halfhand has arrived with 100 men from the Shadow Tower. Qhorin recognizes Jon and tells him that he knew Lord Eddard and Jon's grandfather Lord Rickard as well. The men from the Shadow Tower were delayed because they met Alan Crowkiller and his men who had been scouting along the wall. They killed the wildling leader and took some captives, but lost 4 men in the process. Later, Jon overhears dissent in the ranks as Chet and Lark, the sister men, speak of not going into the Frostfangs, no matter what the old bear orders. Jon has given the war horn he found to Sam because it is cracked and he could get no sound from it, but Sam likes ancient items. In Mormont's tent, Jon overhears Qhorin telling Mormont about a captive claiming that Mantrader had wargs and mammoths in his army. He also explains that the captive claims the wildling plans to breach the wall, not climb it or burrow beneath it. Qhorin tells them that Mance is seeking something in the high, cold places of the Frostfangs, some power or artifact. Qhorin advises the old bear to send scouts into the mountains, and Mormont agrees. Jarman Buckwell will take 4 men to climb the giant stair. Thorin Smallwood will lead a party to probe the Milkwater, while Qhorin himself will lead a third party into the Skirling Pass. Qhorin immediately chooses Jon Snow as one of his 4 men, stating, "The old gods are still strong beyond the wall, the gods of the First Men and the Starks." Well, that's it, everyone. Thank you for stopping by and watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to come back for more. Again, thank you for watching. Bye.